The Wall Street Journal and the Street are reporting that it was all these top regulators, SEC chairman, Ben Bernanke, and that he was screaming and yelling, almost like Hitler, just going completely wild, frothing. And it said that this, seemed to shake up a bit Bernanke, the former boss of Geithner. So this looks like all is not well in Camelot, as this air of invincibility, this Mount Olympus godlikeness of these bankers evaporates. I think they're feeling the heat with the End the Fed movement or the Audit the Fed movement.
Well, I think they've also got very severe international problems. In other words, Geithner had to spend the first part of the week kowtowing to the Chinese, who are his bosses. So he had to lick the boots of the visiting delegation from Beijing and assure them that he was responsible after all. But let's get to Saudi Arabia, because it may be Saudi Arabia that's getting him to do this.
All right, well, let's cover that in the next short segment. In the last 30 minutes, you've now gotten the book. You've scanned over it. The Eugenicist Master Plan. Stay with us. I've never given Tarpley his true title. Dr. Tarpley, Ph.D. in history. We should have him on in a few weeks for a whole hour, 2 hours, just on Venetian history, how it came out of the Eastern Roman Empire, from the splitting of the empire, the Eastern Empire, because from my primitive understanding of it, so much of the New World Order management system comes out of that Venetian school. And I was asking Dr. Tarpley during the break. He said that was true in a general sense. So we'll have him on about that, because knowing history, if you don't know history, it's like you were born yesterday. I was told Howard Zinn said that. Okay, Webster, quickly in this short segment, because you're here about eugenics today. Okay, so that's the main reason you've gotten this book. You've researched it, Ecoscience. Yeah. But you've got big breaking news in Saudi Arabia.
But if you want to know why would Geithner freak out? Now, here's the story. Yesterday, there were straws in the wind. There were reports from somewhat obscure publications in Pakistan and in Iran. It was actually Press TV, so that was the Iranian government, and then an Arab website which has British connections, and they're saying that Prince Bandar of Saudi Arabia, people remember him, that's Bandar Bush. He was the ambassador of Saudi Arabia to the United States for about 10 years. He had since gone back to Saudi Arabia and become the head of the National Security Council. That he's allegedly under house arrest for having a coup d'etat, for somehow attempting to interfere in the succession. Bandar is the son of the crown prince. In other words, the person who should succeed to the throne of Saudi Arabia when the current king is no longer there would be Bandar's father, so that would put him in an important position. Now, on the surface, and this is what I originally thought, you'd say, well, Bandar Bush, right, that's a CIA MI6 asset, so it looks like there was an attempted coup d'etat by the U.S. and the British in Saudi Arabia, right? You could expect something like that once they were trying to overthrow the government of Iran. But there's a whole other dimension to this, which has been brought to my attention by a very good friend, which is that Bandar may have gone pro-Russian, that Bandar had been signing deals, meeting with Putin, setting up military cooperation between Saudi Arabia and Russia, that they had a joint treaty to suppress drug trafficking. And if you look at the website of the Jamestown Foundation, they speculate that there's some move afoot featuring Bandar to essentially reverse the alliances that Saudi Arabia has had since Roosevelt went through there right after Yalta, right back in 1945, to break out of the Anglo-American sphere and go with the Russians. Now, it would make a lot of sense. The Saudi Arabian royal family are people who want to survive. They know that their situation is bad. They can see what Obama means for them. Obama means color revolutions. The question of when are you going to get the color revolution and the coup and the velvet revolution inside Saudi Arabia is really only a question of time, especially with Iran.
All right, Tarpley. I was unaware of this, so give me a headline so I can pull it up and talk to me like I'm 5 years old here.
I have sent some of that stuff to Aaron's email there, so maybe you take a look at that. He was one of the first persons that I sent it to.
Okay, well, what's the headline on it, and then we'll pull it up that way.
Just do Bandar Saudi coup fails. It's up in
Bandar Saudi coup fails.
Yeah.
What does this mean? I mean, in simple terms,
it means
to have the West trying to overthrow the supposed ally of the Kingdom of Saud.
It makes a a lot of sense. In other words, if you're looking at the U.S. and the British, the average observer of the caliber of somebody like Bondar would say, well, these people have been my friends, but they're doomed. They're going down. Under Obama, we're going to have hyperinflation. These dollars are going to be worth nothing. And they may say the only way for the Saudi royal family, who are not a very pretty bunch of people, of course.
Yeah, we have the headline, In Kingdom, Saudi Princess Coup Fails.
Right.
Thank you, Webster.
So this would be an attempt by the Saudi royal family to save themselves from the general shipwreck of the U.S. and the British by going with Russia. And I believe you can say this is probably the new Richelieu of our time is Putin. And if Putin is actually doing this could be a master stroke, because Putin can say to them, look, I can give you a better deal on the Middle East, and above all, I'm not going to overthrow you the way the U.S. and the British, generally try to do.
My gosh, if you're saying there's a major realignment with Saudi Arabia going with Russia,
it's possible.
That completely reshuffles the deck and on a geopolitical scale that changes the entire makeup of the geopolitical web.
It would basically be the beginning of the end of the Anglo-American Empire, and just from the point of view of oil, from oil and then the dollar.
But would the Saudis do that? They were forged in Mordor, there by the British. I mean,
they go back to the British. So they said, well, the British come through, the Americans come through, and now maybe it's time for them to leave. So I'm not 100% sure, but this is something to really watch because it's huge.
Wow. Okay, Eugenics, straight ahead with Webster, Griffin, Tarpley. We carry, by the way, all three of his books, including his economic book, at Infowars.com.